let's talk about some of the winners and losers coming out of the NFL draft, because I am sure there were some Browns players that were watching the draft, and when a certain position was picked, they probably weren't super enthusiastic about that because it could signal the team is trying to find your replacement. So the first winner I've got coming out of the draft is Myles Garrett. Now, I would love to know who shot JFK. Was there a second shooter? And what quarterback did Myles Garrett have in mind when he said he loves the plan that Andrew Berry and the Browns have? But regardless of that plan, I'm sure he is going to be very happy to see Mason Graham working on the interior of that defensive line, attracting so much attention and giving him more one-on-one opportunities to rack up more sacks. Now, last season, I looked at some of the film from games where Myles generated a ton of pressure, but maybe didn't come away with a sack or two. So I first looked at the Ravens game halfway through the year, right? The Jameis Winston win. And this is a prime example of if you see Myles doing a nice job of getting the edge, but Lamar is able to step up in the pocket and he finds an open receiver. Now, Zay Flowers dropped this ball, but if there's Mason Graham on the interior, there's no step up for Lamar Jackson. There is either throw it away or take the sack from Garrett. How about this later on against the Chiefs? Once again, Myles doing a good job against Joe Thuney. You could maybe call a hold on this, but look what Mahomes is able to do. He can step up in the pocket, and when he does that, he's got not one, but two open players to look at. With Mason Graham working on the interior, Myles is going to have such a great, I wouldn't say partner in crime or like Batman or Robin, because usually that is about a edge rusher opposite of Garrett, like Clowney and Za'Darius Smith, but you're just going to have two evil empires, right? Just working their way towards the middle. Garrett from the outside, Graham from up the middle, and also the sneaky good thing that Mason Graham provides that people may not realize is a huge boost to Garrett's game is his ability to clog up and stop the run on early downs. If you want to sack the quarterback, what is the most important thing? They have to pass, right? You can't sack a quarterback who runs the ball. You can't sack a quarterback that hands it off. And the best way to force the quarterback to throw is to get them into a passing situation, second and third and long. If they run it successfully on 1st and 10 and go to 2nd and 4, they might just run it again. And that's back-to-back plays where Garrett doesn't get the opportunity to sack the quarterback. But if they run it on 1st and 10 and it turns to 2nd and 9 thanks to Graham, well, now Garrett gets 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 9 to pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. Step one for sacking the quarterback is stopping the run so that you force them to pass. So how many sacks for MG95 in 2025? Can you get to 20? Can you get to the big 2-0? I'm going to say Myles this year gets 18 sacks. Let me know in the comment section below how many you think he's going to get. Now, my first loser is unfortunately Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. This is not a fun topic to discuss, but we can't ignore the fact that when the Browns selected an off-ball linebacker with pick 33 to begin day 2 of the NFL draft, it sent a lot of signals for where JOK's health is currently at. So Carson Schlesinger, the UCLA linebacker, enters the Browns defense, I think with the plan of becoming a starting linebacker because they are not internally optimistic that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to be ready anytime soon. And that stinks. That sucks to say out loud, but it is something that we have to acknowledge. And if they did feel like JOK would be healthy soon, I really doubt they would invest that much into the linebacker spot. JOK signed a 3-year extension. Hicks and Devin Bush played well last year. So with Schlesinger entering the fold, entering the mix, I think this is about a JOK kind of long-term replacement when it comes to let's get a blue chip type of, let's get a green dot in the middle of that defense. Let's get someone who can be our linebacker for the next 8 years. And that was supposed to be him. But this draft pick says otherwise. All right, before you look at the other winners and losers, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Lock yourself in for the best Browns draft coverage. Best Browns offseason coverage. I got so used to saying that for months. For the rest of May, June, July, August. So if you haven't yet, hit that sub button down below for completely free Browns content. My second winner is going to be cornerback Greg Newsome. He's a winner in my eyes for 1.5 reasons. The biggest reason is he is still on the Browns roster. Going into the draft, there was a lot of buzz out there from Jordan Schultz that the Browns were looking to trade Newsome and Owusu-Koramoah. Neither player was dealt yet. Trade could still happen. Wouldn't be surprised if a team, wanted to get a corner, didn't get a corner, goes, let's see how OTAs and minicamp go. And if we get a pleasant surprise from someone on our roster, then we won't give up a pick. But if we don't, get a pleasant surprise, then we're going to deviate or we're going to pivot to trading for Newsome. But as of now, Newsome is on the Browns, and I think this is best case scenario for him because he is going into the final year of his rookie deal, which means it's a contract season. This is his opportunity to cash in March for free agency. And for Newsome, you got to think that the best place to cash in with a great season is in Cleveland. We saw what Jim Schwartz's defense did in 2023. You know that with Myles Garrett and Mason Graham and the rest of that defensive line, they're going to generate pressure, which means the quarterback is not going to have all day to stand in the pocket and pick apart the defense. So if I'm Newsome right now, I'm thinking about a lot of things, but I'm thinking about, hey, this is my opportunity to put my best foot forward before I enter free agency and hopefully get a big contract. And if I'm thinking about getting a big contract, I want to be in Cleveland to set that up. I don't want to go somewhere new, start completely fresh, have to learn a brand new playbook, maybe get off to a bit of a slow start. No, I know what I'm doing here. I know my role. I know this defense. I've got Denzel Ward opposite me. I've got Martin Emerson working on the outside as well. I've got Grant Delpit behind me. I've got a great defense here. I can't think of really a more realistic, better place for Newsome to be this year in terms of setting himself up for success to get paid in March. So not getting traded, I think, is a big win for number 0. And the half reason is they didn't really address corner in this draft, right? They didn't add a cornerback, so there's no one pushing him out before he even gets to minicamp and OTAs. I really hate myself for this next loser because he's not a loser. He got drafted, but I have to mention Dillon Gabriel. And I put him down here for 2 reasons. 1, from what the Browns did, and 2, because of a little bit of the fan reaction. Let's start with what the Browns did. They took Dillon Gabriel. I'm going to back up and say Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry selected Dillon Gabriel in round 3. Usually when teams draft a quarterback, the head coach is very involved in that selection because the GM wants to pick a quarterback that the coach feels can be a good fit in their system. So I think Stefanski looked at Gabriel as, this is someone who I think can run my offense well. And for Gabriel, that's a great win. He goes in round 3. How can he be a loser? Well, because it's what the Browns did 2 rounds later. In round 5 of the draft, the Browns selected Shedeur Sanders. So there's always going to be competition. But man, for Dillon Gabriel, to get drafted at the end of day 2, and not even 24 hours later, the entire fan base wants the guy who was picked after you to be ahead of you in the depth chart. That can't be a very fun welcoming, right? Everyone scrutinized the pick, myself included, but that's not uncommon. A lot of players get scrutiny for picks. That's not their fault. They didn't draft themselves, but they can prove people wrong, and it happens all the time. Like, Bills fans were mad that they took Josh Allen over Josh Rosen. Obviously, Bills fans probably want to take that back. But on top of just the scrutiny, it is the fact that right when he gets to camp, he's already working his way up the depth chart. He's trying to compete with 2 veterans for a backup or a starting role. But now he's got to fight like a 2-front war. He's got to fight the 5th-round pick behind him, Shedeur Sanders, and he's competing with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco in front of him. He's been put in a tough situation here. So I feel for Gabriel, and I feel like this is probably not the most optimal situation. But he was a third-round draft pick, which I'm sure if you told him back in, I don't know, a week ago, he'd be very happy with that. Third and final winner, I'm going to say the wide receivers. A lot of fans were upset that the Browns did not draft a receiver or an offensive tackle. If that's you, please show of hands. Raise your hand right now. I don't care if you're in class, you're working, you're in your car. Raise your hand. Let me ask you this question as well. Keep your hand raised if you also want the Browns to draft best player available. For everyone that still has their hand up, I forbid you to bitch about this. Because if you like best player available, this was not the draft to do that for wide receiver. In round 1, they were not going to take one at pick number 5. Let's just agree on that. At pick 33 and 36, they took, I think, arguably the best players available in Carson Schlesinger, who some people thought could go at the end of round 1, and Quinshon Judkins. So, if you wanted them to get a receiver at that spot, you're reaching, in my opinion. Then at pick 67, you could find players much better than the receivers available. So, more on this in just a moment. But first things first, quick shout out to Fanatics. They've got Browns rookie jerseys available at chatsports.com/CLE rookies. Mason Graham wearing 94. Still waiting on Quinshon Judkins and Shedeur Sanders, but pre-order it now. When those jersey numbers are selected, they will mail you the jersey. So go to chatsports.com/CLE rookies. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Appreciate everyone for supporting the channel. This is a great way to do it as well. So let's circle back to the wide receivers being winners coming out of the draft, because they definitely went into this draft feeling like, hey, at any moment we can hear a receiver picked, and all of a sudden we either all shift down one spot on the depth chart or there's one less 53-man roster spot available. But none of that happened. The Browns added Deontay Johnson in free agency after the draft, but I feel like he's competing for a roster spot just as much as Michael Woods or Cedric Tillman or David Bell is. Whereas when you take a rookie, you kind of, give them preferential treatment and you give them a guaranteed roster spot for year 1. So it's a great day to be David Bell. It's a great day to be Jamari Thrash, right? Because you went from being, a fringe roster spot guy to still being a fringe roster spot guy. And that's not so bad in the NFL. And I think Cedric Tillman went into this draft as the team's number 2 receiver and comes out of the draft as this team's number 2 receiver. Hopefully he can bounce back well from that concussion he suffered late last year that caused him to miss the final third of the season. He was playing so well before that injury, so I can't wait for him to step back on the field and establish himself as this team's number 2 right behind Jerry Jeudy. So do you think Ced is going to have a breakout in 2025? I think so. A lot of Tennessee bias coming through right now, but let me know what you think. Give me a yes or no in the comment section. All right, let's pick a card to wrap up today's episode. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Moose, which card do you want to go with?
First initial thought is the 7 clubs, but I've been taught to not do that, so I'm going to go 5 of diamonds.
So Moose goes from 7 of clubs to 5 of diamonds. What Moose doesn't know is I've been doing this to read. I'm going to take the 7 of clubs. So this is nightmare fuel for you.
If it's a 7 of clubs, I'm going to 3.
It's not, but this card, what'd you say?
7 of clubs.
No,
5 of diamonds.
4 of diamonds.
Oh!
4 of diamonds. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see everyone later.